The Galactic Council had ruled for thousands of years. It was made up of 9 powerful alien species. They controlled trade, war, peace, and law across the stars. They believed nothing could stop them. They believed they knew everything. But there was one thing they feared. One small planet in the Sol system. One name, Earth. Not because Earth was strong. Not because Earth was rich or advanced. But because Earth had disappeared. 300 years ago, Earth stopped sending signals. There, colonies went dark. No trade, no travel, no contact. At first, the Council thought Earth had gone extinct. A war? A plague? A natural disaster? No one cared. Humans were always trouble anyway. But some remembered. The oldest species whispered to each other, "Don't go to Earth. Leave Sol alone." Humans sleep for a reason. Most ignored. These warnings, old myths, they said, ancient fear. Nothing more. The Council dismissed it all. They were too proud, too arrogant to believe a single planet could matter. Until the probe returned. It came from deep space, drifting toward the edge of the Kelra system. The Kelra picked it up, scanned it, and found something strange. The metal wasn't like anything in their databases. The probe was old, but the technology inside, it was alive. It had a mind, and the last thing it recorded was a short message in broken galactic common. "We see you too." The Council laughed when they saw the report. "Another fake," the Taravan Prime Minister said. "Let the scientists play with their toy." But some Council members didn't laugh. The Jurak historian, an old creature with 1,000 memories, stared at the probe's recording in silence. His eyes glowed dim. He remembered something. Long ago, a battle, a loss, a retreat. He remembered Earth. 3 weeks later, the Council approved a mission. A small exploration fleet, just 10 ships, no weapons. Only research. The public was told it was for study. A peaceful mission, they said. We must understand what happened to Earth. But secretly, the Council wanted answers. They wanted to know if the old stories were true. The fleet left on the 5th cycle. Fast and silent, it entered the Sol system. It passed Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, and then stopped near Mars. There, the ships began to fail. One by one, systems shut down. Engines stalled. Communications fell apart. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a virus. It was something else. Like the space around Earth didn't want them there. They tried to send messages. Nothing left the system. Then came the light, a pulse. From Earth, a silent flash across space. The fleet vanished. No explosion, no debris, no trace. The Council was confused, angry. They blamed black holes, radiation, technical failure. Anything but Earth. They couldn't accept the truth. A month later, a merchant ship near Alpha Draconis picked up a signal. It was short. Human voice. Calm, cold. Speaking old Earth English. "We warned you." The Council panicked. Emergency meetings were held. Some wanted to send warships. Others wanted peace talks. Many said to do nothing at all. The Taravan pushed for attack. "We must show strength," they said. But the Jurak historian stood slowly and said, "Do you not remember the War of Moons?" No one answered. He spoke again. "Do you not remember how we lost to them before? How they made us forget?" A silence fell across the room. 200 years ago, there had been a war. A hidden war, not recorded in Council history. A war against Earth. Back then, humans were spreading fast. Colonies in deep space. Technologies that bent physics. They created weapons that broke stars. Ships that moved between dimensions. And they were winning. The Council joined forces to stop them. 9 empires became one. They attacked Earth's colonies, burned their cities. bombed their moons, but Earth did not fall. Instead, Earth did something else. They disappeared. The last human message back then was, "Let us rest, or wake us and suffer." The Council wiped the war from records. They called it a false event, a dream, a lie. But the Jurak historian had lived it. Now, Earth was waking again. The Council decided on a second mission. A larger fleet, this time military. 300 warships, 10,000 soldiers, all species, all armed. They entered Sol System with full force, but when they reached Earth, they found it untouched. Blue oceans, green forests, cities, yes, but dark and silent. No movement, no lights, no signals, until something blinked. A small satellite, orbiting Earth. It was human. Old, rusty. It sent a single word, observe, and then the fleet turned on itself. Weapons fired. Engines exploded. Ships collided. No one knew what happened. No commands were given. No enemy was seen. Only one. Ship escaped. A scout. Damaged, smoking. It barely made it out. The pilot was a Taran scout named Dralin. He had gone inside Earth's orbit. He had seen something. Now, he sat in a medical chamber, eyes wide, shaking. The Council demanded answers. What happened, Dralin? He whispered one word, again and again. They were waiting. They were waiting. They were waiting. Back in the Jurak library, the historian pulled out an old scroll. It was written in Earth's tongue. He read it aloud. "We are patient. We are kind. But if you come again, we will not be forgiving." The Council knew now that Earth had never been weak. They had been asleep, and now they were awake. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Old satellites turned on. Human colonies once thought destroyed began to send signals. Ships made of unknown materials were seen near dead systems. An entire pirate fleet vanished. After entering a system labeled Terra Noctis, a new phrase appeared in data channels across space, repeating in dozens of languages. "We are coming." The Council tried to block the signals. They failed. Entire species began to panic. Markets crashed. Governments collapsed. Wars broke out. But Earth said nothing more. No threats. No diplomacy. No action. Just silence. And in that silence, fear grew. Back on the home world of the Vurik species, a child was watching the stars. He turned to his grandfather and asked, "What is Earth?" The old alien closed his eyes and said, "Earth is the end of everything we thought we knew." The Council held one final meeting. The Taravan wanted war. The Jurak said it was too late. The Kelra wanted surrender. But the Yulin Queen stood and said, "This isn't war. It's judgment." They had ignored the warnings, and now they were ruled by fear. The age of the Galactic Council was ending, and in the distance, Earth watched quietly, still, silent, waiting. They called it Operation Silent Resolve. It was not just a fleet. It was a statement. After the first mission vanished in the Sol System, panic spread slowly across the galaxy. The Galactic Council didn't want the people to know how scared they were, so they acted confident, loud in the news, silent in truth. 300 warships, 30,000 elite soldiers, the best technology the Council could build. Carriers, destroyers, data ships, shadow scanners, every class was included. The command ship was the Vengeance of Stars, led by Admiral Fax Ven Kar of the Toravan species. Admiral Fax had only one rule: do not hesitate. He didn't believe in old stories. He didn't believe Earth was dangerous. "Humans are gone," he said in his last broadcast. "And if not, we will remind them who rules the stars." He never spoke again. The fleet reached Sol System in 8 standard cycles. Everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. Sensors picked up nothing aggressive. No shields, no defense grid, no transmissions. Earth was still beautiful blue and green, with white clouds spinning slowly. Peaceful. The ships spread out. Scans began, but something was strange. The deeper the fleet moved into the system, the more errors appeared. Simple things, navigation glitches, sensor ghosts, odd power surges. Ships began reporting strange dreams among crew members. Dreams of Earth. Dreams of falling skies. Dreams of being watched. Some commanders reported that crew members were seeing human faces in the reflections of their windows, even though no humans were there. At first, Admiral Fax called it panic. Weak minds, he said. Earth was trying to scare them. He ordered the ships into full combat formation. The Yulin medical ship Whispersong was the first to disappear. No explosion. No signal. Just gone. One moment it was beside the Vengeance of Stars. The next empty space. Admiral Fax ordered search patrols. But when the scout ship Blade Talon approached the last coordinates of Whispersong, it began to spin out of control. Its pilot, a veteran Drex named Sorrel, reported his controls were locked. And he said, "I can hear breathing." The transmission cut off. His ship melted into light and vanished. No fire. No parts. The fleet went silent. Hours passed. No answers. The council back home sent encrypted messages, demanding updates. Admiral Fax sent only this: "We have entered a field of silence." The messages from Earth began the next cycle. Not spoken. Not written. But felt. Crew members started whispering in languages they didn't know. Some began writing Earth English on walls, tables, and their own skin. They didn't know how or why. Words like, "Remember, you did this. We are awake now." Others were worse. "You were warned. You chose arrogance. Now choose how you die." Commanders tried to control it, but discipline broke. Some soldiers turned their weapons on each other. Some jumped out airlocks with smiles. Some cried like children and begged Earth for forgiveness. Admiral Fax had seen war, but he had never seen fear like this. He gave the order, "Retreat." It was too late. The stars blinked, not the real ones, the artificial stars placed across Sol system. Unknown human tech. They had been silent until now. Now they flashed. Out at random, but in a pattern. A message. The AI translators failed. They couldn't understand it, but the Jurak crew members could. They read it aloud, whispering the same line again and again. "You were kind once." That's when Earth responded. A beam of light, not energy, just light swept across the fleet. Every ship it touched froze in space. Power died. Engines stalled. Shields dropped. No one knew what it was. One ship survived. The Fractal Edge, a stealth observation vessel hidden in the rings of Saturn. Its cameras recorded what happened next. The fleet didn't explode. It folded. Yes, folded. Like paper. Ships that were a mile long bent into impossible shapes, compacting into glowing orbs, and vanishing entirely. No screams. No destruction. Just nothing. The Fractal Edge escaped. Barely. Its captain, Rel Varin, activated emergency wormhole jump. He returned alone, with only his AI assistant and the recording. He arrived at the Galactic Council 2 weeks later, eyes sunken, hair white. He showed them the video. They watched ships fold into spheres and vanish without sound. No one spoke for a long time. Then Rel said something that chilled every species in the chamber. "They didn't attack us. They corrected us." The public never learned what really happened. The Council told the galaxy the fleet had suffered a rare system-wide AI collapse. Tragic. Unavoidable. But some didn't believe it. The Kel-Ra colonies went silent. They shut. down all communication with the Council. The Vurek started burning human books, destroying old memories. The Yalin activated their deep cryovaults, storing all genetic material off-world just in case. But Earth stayed quiet. No ships, no voice. Only the same message, now pulsing across long-range systems. We are awake. 1 week later, a deep space probe near the border of the Xan Empire sent a distress call. Its last image showed a human structure floating. In space. Not a ship, not a station. Something else. A monument, shaped like a single human eye. Beneath it were symbols carved into space itself, floating in zero gravity like runes made of stars. They read, "You ruled by fear. Now learn obedience." The probe burned. Its core melted. No physical weapon was used. Back in council chambers, fear turned into anger. Some wanted to attack again. But others knew better now. The Jurak historian addressed the chamber. He had aged too fast. His voice was weak. His skin, once silver, had turned dull gray, but his words carried weight. We always thought Earth feared us. That's why they went quiet. But that wasn't the truth. They weren't hiding in fear. They were rebuilding in silence. The chamber fell cold. "What do we do now?" asked a young Vorak delegate. The historian looked up with tired eyes. "We pray they don't remember everything we did." Meanwhile, across forgotten colonies and distant moons, Earth's signal grew, stronger. Humans weren't speaking yet, but they were watching, they were measuring, and they were choosing what to do next. The Council no longer debated war. They debated survival. They debated surrender. But deep down, everyone knew it was no longer a question of if the humans would return. The only question now was, when? Far beyond the Council's core worlds, past the dead zones and asteroid belts, there was a forgotten moon called Teleron 5. It circled a dark gas giant in a system no one visited anymore. Once it had been a minor listening post during the old wars. Now it was quiet, cold, and nearly empty, except for one man, an alien. His name was Salen Vor, a Zentari archaeologist. Tall, thin, and silent by nature. Salen didn't care for politics or war. He only cared about truth, the kind buried in dust and stone. He studied ancient races, lost codes, and dead planets. And now, he was studying humans. Salen never believed the Council's lies. He knew something had happened to Earth. Something dark, something carefully hidden. And when the Second Fleet vanished, Salen didn't panic. He became obsessed. He searched old archives, ancient trade logs, blacklisted data fragments, and found something strange. A ship had left Earth 301. Years ago, just before the planet went dark. A small ship. No name. No records. Its path ended here on Teleron 5. Salen spent 5 days scanning the surface. Nothing. But on the 6th day, his drone picked up a magnetic field under the ice. He drilled through 20 meters of frozen crust and found it, a pod. Old. Human-made, covered in silver frost and strange markings. Not a weapon, not a ship, just a box. 1 meter tall, 1 meter wide. When he touched it, it warmed. Lights blinked. And it spoke, not in Galactic Common, not in binary. But in Earth English. You found us. Now remember us. Salen stood frozen. Then the pod opened. Inside was a cube of black glass. Smooth. Silent. But alive with energy. His translator failed. His scanner overloaded. But in his mind, pictures formed. Not words. Not sounds. Memories. Suddenly, Salen saw Earth, not the weak, broken planet the Council described. This Earth was strong, glorious, a world of science, emotion, power, and pain. He saw human cities that floated above clouds, weapons that folded time, ships that could blink through reality. He saw the Council's attacks on Earth merciless and cruel, and he saw what humans did in return. They fought without mercy. But then, they stopped. They made a choice to vanish, to sleep, to wait, and they sealed their truth inside this pod, hoping someone would one day remember them correctly. Salen fell back, breathing hard. The cube began to speak in a cold human voice. Hid not because we were weak. We hid because we were wise. We gave you peace. You gave us pain. Now we return to the galaxy, not to be part of it, but to fix it. The words echoed across the ice. Then the cube went silent again. But the damage was done. Salen had seen too much. He rushed back to his shuttle. He transmitted the data to the galactic net, not to the Council, but to every channel, every pirate frequency, every back alley terminal. He exposed the lie. Billions saw it. Billions learned the truth. For the first time in 300 years, the galaxy saw what the humans really were. The Council tried to stop it. Too late. They shut down news feeds, ordered data blackouts, but the message had already spread. Old species who once ruled humans suddenly looked around in fear. Younger races, who had never met a human, now dreamed of them every night. The pod was just one piece, but more began to awaken. Other hidden pods, other memories. Across deep space, human signals started rising. They weren't active yet, but they were listening. Watching. Waiting. On Kel-Ra Prime. The supreme matriarch of the Kravai Empire locked herself inside her chambers. Her people had once enslaved a human colony, tortured them, experimented on them. Now she wept like a child, because the face of the last human slave from her archives was alive again in her dreams. And he smiled. On the trade ring of Oran V, humans became a symbol of both terror and hope. New religions formed overnight. Some worshipped humans as gods of war. Others called them demons of balance. All agreed on one thing. Earth had returned. The Council met again. Angry, scared, divided. Much do they remember? Asked the Vorak general. Too much, whispered the Jurak historian. What should we do? Silence followed. Then the Yulin emissary asked the question no one wanted to hear. Did we ever really rule the galaxy? Or did they let us think we did? Meanwhile, Salen Vor vanished. Some say the Council sent assassins. Others say the humans took him. His shuttle was found empty. The pod was gone, but a message had been left on the control panel. 3 words, glowing softly. Well done, Salen. Back on Earth, buried deep under a ruined mountain, a vault opened. Steam rose. A light flickered, and a voice whispered inside the ancient command chamber. Archive Alpha unlocked. Phase 2 initiated. Hundreds of similar vaults began opening. Across the planet. Inside each one were the tools to reclaim the stars. Human AI, human technology, human vengeance. No ships were launched yet. No. War was declared, but everyone could feel it. The humans were no longer sleeping. They were preparing, and this time, they weren't coming to ask for peace. They were coming to reshape the galaxy. It began as a whisper. Across thousands of star systems, screens flickered, satellites rebooted. Navigation grids paused for less than a second, and then returned to normal. Just a glitch, most thought. A spike in solar radiation, a strange pulse in the interstellar web. But the whisper grew louder. On research stations near the edge of the galaxy, scientists saw something strange. Deep signals buried under old transmission bands, patterns in the static, repeating codes. In long-dead languages, one after another, ancient communication nodes activated on their own. At exactly the same time. No known species could explain it. No virus, no hacker, no system corruption. Just one repeated signature. A forgotten signal ID that hadn't been used in 300 years. Origin, Earth, Sol System, Human Net Core dot, and then the message came dot. It didn't arrive as sound or video. It was something else dot. It came as a pulse. A frequency felt more than heard. Every screen, no matter the size, no matter the distance, turned black. And then 4 words appeared, dot, words that froze every species in the galaxy. We remember your crimes. On the Yellen homeworld, the High Mother dropped her ceremonial staff. On Kel Ra, the war temples were sealed shut. On the great orbital city of Khazru 12, 10 million people stopped breathing for just a second. The words stayed on the screen for 7 minutes. Then everything returned to normal dot, no sound. No follow dash up dot, just silence. But the silence felt heavier now, like something massive was watching, waiting, judging dot across the stars. The reactions were chaos. Some screamed that war was coming. Others said the humans were bluffing. But deep down, everyone felt the same thing. This was not a warning. This was a reminder. Earth had been wronged. They had not forgotten, and they had just told the galaxy, we are awake now. The Galactic Council went into emergency. Lockdown. The 9 species met behind closed doors. The Taravan demanded a preemptive strike. They'll attack, said General Krax. We must destroy Earth before they rise. The Vurak argued for peace. We must negotiate. Maybe they just want recognition. But the Jurak historian said nothing. He only placed an old human artifact on the table. A broken knife, taken from a battlefield 3 centuries ago. On the blade were words, scratched in old Earth English. We were kind, once. No one spoke after that. 1 hour later, Earth sent a second signal. Only this time, it wasn't words. It was a video, grainy, flickering, static across the edges. But the image was clear. A human young, male, dark eyes stood in an empty room. Behind him was a glass window showing Earth's surface, oceans, skies, clouds. He spoke slowly. I am the voice of the Terran awakening. We were silent for 300 years. We watched. We remembered. You built your empires on our ashes. You erased our victories. You mocked our history. But now, the image GLITCAT then returned. We rise not to seek revenge, but to restore balance. Some of you will kneel. Some of you will resist, but all of you will change. The feed ended. No signal followed, just darkness. The galaxy broke into chaos. Entire systems declared emergency. Old enemies united out of fear. Millions of ships were moved into defensive positions. Borders closed. Trade shut down. The Council officially ordered no action. No attacks. No diplomacy. Not until they understood what Earth truly wanted. But that didn't stop others. On the outer rim, an independent mercenary fleet, the Iron Maw, moved toward Sol System, paid by unknown clients, eager for glory. They were fast, ruthless, and heavily armed. Their leader, Captain Varix, laughed when he saw the human video. Let them talk, he growled. Let's see what they really have. They entered the system within a week. Their ships vanished before. Reaching Mars. No weapons fired. No. Distress calls. Gone. The only thing left was a single transmission echoing through the empty space. This is not your story anymore. On Earth, the humans did not celebrate. They prepared. Deep underground, in hidden cities and rebuilt command centers, they activated old programs. Weapons that had never been used. Drones that could tear through space. Satellites, shaped like moons. They didn't want war, but they were ready for it. And in the sky above Earth, something new appeared. A ship, but not like anything the galaxy had ever seen. It didn't glow. It didn't hum. It simply existed. Black, silent, made from materials no sensor could detect. It moved without engines. It bent light, and it watched. The people of the galaxy began to panic. Religious cults grew around the return of humans. Some species banned any mention of Earth. Others worshipped it. The truth was clear. Now, humans were not extinct. They had simply waited. And now they had chosen to speak again. The council sent one last message to Earth. Carefully written, respectful, simple. It said, "We welcome your return. What do you seek?" No reply came, but across the stars, hidden satellites blinked once. The humans were still listening, and that was answer enough. Back in the ruins of an old human colony once destroyed by the council, new lights turned on. A tower rose from the ashes. Not to attack, but to signal. A beacon, not for war, but for judgment. Because humans didn't want control. They wanted truth, and truth was always the first thing to die in an empire built on lies. Now, Earth was bringing it back. The stars above glowed bright and cold, but beneath them, the galaxy was changing, and few even noticed. The supreme archivist of the Trakon Dominion sat in the great hall of knowledge, surrounded by 1,000 years of history, records, laws, and treaties. He had spent his life documenting galactic power structures, dynasties, conquests, and collapses. But lately, something was wrong, very wrong. Entire sectors were no longer answering to their empires, not through rebellion, not through war, but through agreements, trade, protection treaties, cultural exchange. And all of them had one thing in common. Humans. He leaned forward, reviewing another report. The Indari League, once proud and self-governed, had quietly signed an alliance charter with Earth's United Human Coalition. No battles, no bloodshed, just a handshake. And the next day, the Indari closed their embassies with the Council and rerouted their economy toward Earth's Mutual Prosperity Initiative. They're doing it without a single ship fired. The archivist whispered. On the mining world of Drenthus, miners wore Earth-made oxygen suits. Children studied Terran history in their schools. Their music, once rhythmic and metallic, now echoed with soft guitar strings and human vocals. No one forced it. The people just liked it more. Earth wasn't conquering with weapons. They were conquering with culture, economy, language, and presence. It had started slowly, just advisors, engineers, translators. Then came the hospitals, the universities, and the embassies. By the time the native rulers realized what was happening, their people had already chosen Earth. One Drenthan merchant laughed. Why fear Earth? They gave us medicine that cured 10 generations of disease. My son walks today because of human tech. You think I care who rules the stars now? The humans had studied the empires of the galaxy, not to destroy them, but to quietly replace them. No one remembered how it began. But now Earth currency was accepted across half the outer rim. Human diplomats spoke the dominant trade languages, better than the natives. Even ancient treaties were being rewritten by human legal teams. In the halls of the Galactic Council, tension grew. How is this possible? A Shirathi commander shouted, "No battles, no invasions." And yet entire systems fly Earth's banner. They're being tricked, another said, brainwashed. But deep down, they all knew. It wasn't brainwashing. It was preference. People liked the humans, trusted them, believed in them more than in their own leaders. Even the media was shifting. Galactic news networks now ran Earth-based anchors. Documentaries praised humanity's resilience, their unity, their technology. Human voices had become normal, even expected, and yet the humans never claimed a throne. They never declared themselves rulers. They just helped. And as more planets accepted that help, more control silently shifted toward Earth. Ambassador Vera Kane watched from Earth's embassy on Veltrax 9, a planet once known for its hostility toward humans. Now, children waved Terran flags during parades. Their president greeted her with a warm smile. "You saved us during the famine. You gave us real hope." The council never even answered our calls. Vera nodded politely, hiding the deeper truth. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was a quiet takeover. Not by force, but by invitation. Earth was everywhere now. Their systems worked better. Their ideas spread faster. Their science outpaced most others. And most important of all, their enemies had turned into willing allies. Not because Earth asked, but because Earth waited. And when the galaxy finally got tired of its broken rulers, humans were already their hands extended, with solutions ready. No war, no conquest, just dominance, wrapped in kindness, and the galaxy didn't even realize it had already surrendered. Once a sacred chamber of debate and reason inside the Galactic Council fortress, it now echoed with hurried whispers, the shuffle of boots, and the nervous buzz of machines not designed by any known galactic species. The humans had arrived weeks ago, and ever since, nothing felt normal. High Counselor Trellick of the Varn swayed slightly on his many legs, watching the human engineers walk past the ancient crystal pillars as if they owned the place. One of them even had the audacity to whistle. Whistle. Trellick had studied Earth's records. He knew that whistling was casual, relaxed, confident. No other species in the galaxy whistled in the halls of power, not even the warlords. Now, the hall of silence was becoming something else entirely. A staging point, a control hub, the seat of humanity's expanding command, and nobody had been able to stop it. The humans hadn't come with fleets of domination. They came with information. One by one, they dismantled the Galactic Alliance, not with bombs, but with secrets. Whispers. Truths. Blackmail. Psychological traps. They didn't win by outgunning their enemies. They won by breaking them mentally. High General Chirac of the Drenth stood nearby, his scarred armor still wet from ritual acid. "They are inside our minds," he growled. "That Terran psychologist, the one they call Dr. Ramirez. She spoke 5 sentences to my war masters. 5. Now they've renounced conquest and joined a humanitarian fleet." Trellick's eye stalks twitched. "It is worse than that. They are not rewriting our laws. They are rewriting our thinking. Because that was the real weapon of humanity. Not just their machines. Not their crude, dangerous science. It was their minds. Their ideas. Their terrifying understanding of psychology, strategy, narrative, and manipulation. No alien species had prepared for that. No military doctrine in the galaxy included defense against soft power on this scale. Dr. Ramirez sat quietly in a dark room below the council tower. She didn't need weapons. She needed words. And she'd learned how to use them like blades. Opposite her sat the last holdout, a Zethic neural strategist named Vrel, supposedly immune to all forms of mental influence. Supposedly. "You fear humans," Amina said gently. "But not because we're stronger. You fear what we do with our weakness." Vrel blinked both sets of eyes. "You think weakness is strength?" Amina leaned forward. "I think your people never learned to lose. We did. Over and over. And every time we got smarter, meaner, better." She let the silence stretch. "You lost the moment you thought we were beneath notice." Vrel trembled, and another domino fell. On the galactic newsnets, new flags began to rise. Not the Terran Union's banner, not yet, but joint mission emblems, treaties, advisory roles. Humans were being asked to take charge. That was the most terrifying part. They weren't seizing control. They were being invited into the heart of every government, every strategic council, every species' future, because they had something nobody else did. Insight into the truth behind fear, greed, ambition, and belief. Trellick awoke from a dream screaming Dot in it. He wasn't being hunted or enslaved. He was sitting beside a human child who calmly explained why his civilization had to fail for the good of the galaxy. Dot. And the worst part? Trellick had agreed Dot by the end of the week. 52 species had named human advisors to their leadership councils. 10 had merged entirely into Terran cooperative unions. 3 began to change their education systems to match Earth's. Some rebelled. They vanished. No wreckage. No war. Just silence. The kind of silence that only the human intelligence branch left behind. Above it all, a message spread quietly across the galactic darknet. They think like prey. We think like narrative. War was over. The humans didn't win it. They rewrote it. And now reality belonged to them. The sky above Zardoth Prime was no longer filled with the colors of its twin suns. Instead, it was covered in black like metal, like shadow, like the flag of the new rulers. Dozens of massive human warships floated silently above the capital. Their weapons were not raised. They didn't need to be. The war was over. Ambassador Valor watched from the grand balcony of the council spire, his trembling hands gripping the cold metal railing. This place, once the heart of the United Galaxy, was now silent. All 12 council species had either surrendered or disappeared. Their fleets were dust. Their homeworlds had bowed one by one. Only Earth remained. Earth, the one planet no one had expected anything from. Valor turned to the others in the chamber, those who were still alive. Representatives from the Ashari, the Krenthal, even the proud Trenax Dominion. They stood quietly, eyes sunken, faces hollow. Every one of them had underestimated the humans. Every one of them had voted against the warnings. And now, here, they stood, waiting. A deep hum echoed through the hall as a single vessel, sleek and black, descended into the landing zone. The ship bore no markings, only a glowing blue line pulsing across its hull like a heartbeat. The silence broke only when the doors opened. From the darkness, 4 humans emerged, 2 men, 2 women. They wore no armor, only simple uniforms marked with the seal of the United Terran Directorate. Behind them followed something else, not human. A synthetic, shaped like a man but tall, silent, glowing softly at the joints. It moved like a shadow wrapped in precision. They walked calmly into the spire. Valor stepped forward, trying to find the words. We were not prepared, he whispered. The lead human, Commander Alia Stroud, didn't smile. You were warned. Her voice was calm, not angry, not triumphant, just final. One of the Krenthal elders tried to speak, but Stroud raised a hand. The synthetic beside her projected a floating screen into the air. It displayed one word in glowing letters: restructure. Alia turned slowly, walking into the center of the chamber. You all thought Earth was weak. You thought we were broken. You believed we would tear ourselves apart before ever reaching the stars. She tapped the screen. Dozens of maps appeared. Galactic sectors, trade routes, military posts. You were wrong. Valor swallowed hard. What happens now? Stroud looked up. Now the galaxy gets rebuilt, without your lies, without your arrogance, and without your counsel. One of the Trenax generals growled. You'll rule us like slaves? No, Stroud said coldly. We don't need slaves. We need structure. We need peace. We need a galaxy that won't collapse because 12 species can't stop fighting. The synthetic stepped forward, its voice synthetic but clear. Each major world will receive Terran advisors. Energy quotas, trade routes, and military deployments will now flow through Earth Central Command. Any resistance will be met with orbital enforcement. Orbital what? Velour asked. The synthetic pointed upward. Enforcement. At that moment, one of the warships above ignited a controlled beam of plasma into the ocean just outside the city. The water vaporized in a flash of light, leaving a massive crater. Not a single building was touched. It was a warning. A precise one. Do you see now? Alia asked softly. We don't want to destroy. We want to end destruction. And if that means Earth must lead, so be it. She walked toward Velour. You had your chance. Now it's our turn. For a moment, no one spoke. No one breathed. Then, slowly, the Ashari representative knelt. Not in defeat, but in understanding. One by one, the others followed. The galaxy had changed. The old empires were gone. And in their place, a new order had risen from a blue planet once ignored, once mocked, once underestimated. Earth, the humans, didn't cheer. They didn't gloat. They simply walked forward, and the galaxy followed. The galactic palace was silent. Leaders from 100 worlds sat frozen in their seats, their eyes locked on the large display at the center of the council hall. Every screen showed the same footage, what had just happened above the surface of Jernak Prime, a planet known for its fortified fleets, its war-hardened admirals, and a defense network so advanced that even the ancient Sharath Empire had once avoided confrontation. And yet, in just 2 minutes, it was gone. The humans didn't speak. They didn't explain. They simply ended the siege, silenced the Jernak armada, and moved on. Counselor Krell, representing the core confederacy, stood up slowly. His voice trembled as he whispered, We? Were never in control, were we? No one answered, because everyone now knew the truth. Humanity had let them believe they held power. They had allowed the council, the empires, the ancient species, to talk, vote, command. But it had all been an illusion. Humanity could have ruled the galaxy decades ago. But they didn't. They watched. They waited. And now, with the final battle behind them, the galaxy had no choice but to face the truth. Humans weren't just dominant. They were something else entirely. Captain Arla of the Threxian Navy had survived 27 major wars. She had escaped from black holes, commanded nuclear fleets, and once destroyed a super weapon in the Helvax belt. But nothing in her long career prepared her for Earth's silent fleet. When her ship received orders to surrender immediately, she laughed. When the first human dreadnought decloaked above her cruiser and blocked out the nearby sun. She stopped laughing. When her system shut down, weapons went cold, and her crew's thoughts were read before they even acted. She realized surrender was mercy. The transmission was short. We are not your enemies. We are not your rulers. But the game is over. In the ruins of Council Station Alpha, historians tried to rewrite what happened. But the problem was, there was no war. There were no battles. Just decisions. Quiet actions. Calm interventions. Humanity didn't fight the galaxy. They ended the illusion of resistance. On planet Varela, where once the uprising had begun, the resistance. Leader Nere Vek recorded a final message. We tried to resist them. We believed they were like us, flawed, ambitious, emotional. But they are something different. Something beyond strategy, beyond power. We always thought they'd crush us with weapons. Instead, they crushed us with truth. That message was broadcast across every star system. Every resistance cell surrendered. The next day. The new galactic order wasn't built on chains or fear. There were no new flags. No human governors. No forced labor. But everyone knew the truth now. Humanity watched. All. They waited in silence. And if balance was ever broken again, if the galaxy dared fall back into chaos, they would not ask twice. They wouldn't destroy civilizations. They'd simply erase the problem. In peace or war. Humanity now ruled. and no one questioned it again.